Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today is Tuesday, January 27, 2026. And I want everyone to just, take a brief moment to look at that date. Really look at it. Because if you rewind the clock 3 or 4 years, think about where that conversation was. The headlines were screaming about the death of the office.
Oh, absolutely.
We were all locked in these endless, heated debates about mandates, remote work rights, and whether civilization would ever return to wearing, rigid pants again.
I remember it so vividly, the return to office wars. It feels like a lifetime ago now, doesn't it?
It really does.
But it was the defining cultural conversation of the early 2020s.
It really was. We were all predicting basically an apocalypse for commercial real estate. We thought downtowns were going to turn to ghost towns forever.
Right.
But here we are in 2026, and the dust has largely settled. And the interesting thing, the thing we're going to really unpack today, is that the office didn't die. It
mutated.
Exactly. That is the perfect word for it. It mutated.
We are seeing a complete transformation of the corporate headquarters. I mean, it is no longer a factory where you go to type. It is becoming something else entirely.
So what are we looking at today?
Well, we've combed through a massive stack of white papers, market reports from JLL and CBRE, and some fascinating trend analyses that paint a really vivid picture of this new reality.
Okay, so the mission for this deep dive is to look past those old doom and gloom headlines. Because, let's be honest, there are still plenty of empty buildings out there, and we will get to that.
We will.
But we want to really visualize the high-performance headquarters of 2026. We want to understand how the collision of artificial intelligence and sort of stabilized hybrid work has actually made physical presence more exclusive and more purposeful, not less.
And that's the paradox we found in all the research. AI has taken over so much of the routine work, which fundamentally changes the entire reason you leave your house in the morning.
Okay, let's get right into that. Because the first big theme that jumped out was this shift from the office as a production floor to a coordination engine. Now, coordination engine sounds a bit buzzy, maybe a little corporate. What does that actually mean in practice for someone swiping their badge today?
So think about what the office used to be for the last, 50 years?
Since the Mad Men era, really.
Yeah, exactly. It was a place where you went to do individual tasks. You sat at a desk, you processed data, you drafted emails, you wrote code. It was a production floor for information. You were there to output volume.
Right. The classic heads down work, the stuff you do with noise-canceling headphones on, trying to ignore your neighbor.
Exactly. But look at the AI tools we have now in 2026. We are not just talking about chatbots anymore. We have fully matured agentic AI software agents that can plan and execute complex workflows.
Hang on, let's define agentic AI for the listener really quickly. How is that different from just asking a chatbot to write an email?
It's a huge leap. So a chatbot answers a question, an agent completes a goal.
Yeah.
So instead of asking AI to write a report, you tell the agent, analyze the Q4 sales data, compare it to last year's trends, draft a summary, and email it to the regional directors for review.
And it just does all that.
The agent handles the drafting, the summarizing, the initial data entry, all of it.
So the grunt work is effectively gone. The computer isn't just a typewriter anymore, it's the intern.
A huge chunk of it, yes. And this forces the question. If I don't need to come in the office to sit in a cubicle and type because my AI agent drafted the report before I even logged on,
why go in?
exactly. That is the billion-dollar question. If productivity happens in the cloud, what happens in the building?
And the answer is?
The answer the data gives us is work recomposition. The office is now exclusively for high-bandwidth human interactions.
High bandwidth, you mean face-to-face?
Meaning complex negotiations, creative friction, mentorship, solving problems that require reading the room. Things AI still can't do perfectly. You don't commute to type, you commute to trust. You go in to build social capital.
It's almost like the office has become a premium product. You don't go there for the commodity stuff, the emails, the spreadsheets. You go there for the luxury of human connection.
That's a great way to put it. And we see this in the attendance data. By 2026, hybrid work has finally stabilized. The will they, won't they dance is over.
Thank goodness.
And the most common pattern is 3 to 4 days in the office, but it's remarkably peaky.
Peaky, meaning everyone shows up at the same time.
Yes. Tuesday through Thursday, utilization in these top-tier buildings is skyrocketing, sometimes hitting over 80%. But Mondays and Fridays,
Ghost towns.
complete ghost towns.
Which has to be a nightmare for facility managers. You have to power and heat the building for max capacity for 3 days, and then it just sits empty for 2.
It does create logistical headaches, for sure, but it also creates a rhythm. You get these high-intensity collaboration days followed by remote focus days.
Interesting.
But this leads to another economic term I saw in the notes, which I found fascinating, the collaboration premium.
I highlighted that too. It sounds like a justification for landlords to raise the rent.
Well, in a way, it is, but it's also a shift in spending priority. Companies are leasing less total square footage because they don't need a desk for every single employee anymore. But, and this is the key, they're spending more per square foot on the design and the amenities.
So more and less?
Exactly. They're building out studios, war rooms, training centers. Because if you're going to ask people to commute, which costs them time, money, and sanity,
Right.
you can't just put them in a gray cubicle farm under flickering fluorescent lights. That just doesn't fly in 2026.
You have to give them a space that actually facilitates that high bandwidth teamwork we talked about.
You have to.
Okay, I want to visualize this. Let's play a little game. I'm walking through the front door of a cutting-edge corporate HQ in 2026. I scan my badge. Paint the picture for me. What am I seeing?
The first thing you notice is the vibe. It doesn't feel like a corporate office. It feels like a high-end hotel lobby or a members-only club. There's a concept the industry is pushing called work-spitality. Work plus hospitality.
Work-spitality. I love it, but it also sounds incredibly expensive. I'm picturing an espresso bar and velvet couches.
They're not far off. And it is expensive, but it's intentional. The sea of desks is gone. In 2026, the desk-sharing ratio is often 2-to-1 or even higher. You don't own a desk anymore.
That's going to be a hard sell for the people who love their family photos and their specific stapler.
It was a hard sell, but the trade-off is modular everything.
Modular, like
Yeah.
Lego furniture?
Basically, walls and furniture that can reconfigure in minutes. We're seeing systems where a space can be a town hall meeting in the morning for 50 people, and then using movable acoustic walls and digital partitions, it's broken down into 4 project pods by lunch.
Whoa.
The environment adapts to the team, not the other way around.
That's wild. So the building itself is fluid? What about the specific rooms? I saw something in the reports about restorative rooms. Is that just a fancy name for a nap pod?
It's evolved way beyond just a nap pod. These are wellness zones that are becoming standard, not just, perks for tech giants.
Okay.
We're talking about spaces designed for neurodiversity soundproofed libraries, for deep focus, low-light zones for decompressing after a high-intensity meeting. It's an acknowledgement that high performance requires recovery.
And speaking of meetings, we have to talk about the phygital meeting spaces. I know phygital is a terrible word.
That's awful.
Physical plus digital, it sounds like a digestive issue. But tell me it's better than the Zoom rooms of 2023.
Oh, it is. I mean, we've all suffered through those hybrid meetings where the remote people were just tiny heads on a laptop screen at the end of a long table.
The worst. You could never hear them. They couldn't see the whiteboard, and half the time you forgot they were even there.
Right. Second-class citizens. In the HQ of 2026, the rooms are remote first. They use spatial computing and AI cameras to give remote participants equal presence.
Spatial computer. So are we talking holograms? Are we there yet?
Not quite Star Wars, but it's getting closer. It uses multiple cameras and screens to create depth. So if a remote person speaks, the audio actually comes from their specific location on the screen.
Oh, that's cool.
Cameras adjust perspective so that it looks like they're making eye contact with you. It really feels like they're sitting across the table.
That's a game changer for keeping teams connected.
Exactly. And speaking of getting left behind, what about the younger employees? The Gen Z and Gen Alpha cohorts, I feel like they missed out on so much mentorship during the remote years.
That was a huge concern in the papers we read, that knowledge transfer gap.
Right. So the new designs focus on something called leadership zones. These are transparent spaces where junior staff can essentially shadow senior leaders. It replaces formal training with osmosis.
Meaning they can just watch, like an apprentice.
Yes. Glass-walled rooms where you can see the negotiation happening. Open breakout areas where VPs are encouraged to work. You learn by overhearing how a leader handles a crisis.
So it's a clubhouse, not a factory. It's all designed for serendipity.
Engineered social collisions, that's the phrase the architects use. That is the entire goal, to rebuild the social capital that eroded when we were all just Zoom squares.
Okay, so that's the rosy picture inside the nice buildings, the work-spitality dream. But let's zoom out to the market itself. Because when I look at the headlines or even just drive around downtown, I still see for-lease signs everywhere. I still see empty towers.
This is where the story gets really interesting. And honestly, a little brutal. We are seeing an extreme K-shaped market,
Winners and losers.
extreme polarization. It's what they're calling the flight to quality. Companies are abandoning the commodity buildings, the Class B and C office parks that are just rows of cubicles,
Right.
and they are all moving into trophy assets, these Class A+ buildings.
Can we define those classes briefly? What makes a building Class A+ versus, say, Class B?
Class A+ is your brand new, high-tech, eco-friendly tower with the gym, the concierge, the digital rooms. Class B is your standard 1990s office block. It's functional but uninspiring.
And Class C?
Class C is, well, it's the place with the flickering lights and the questionable carpet.
Got it. So everyone is fleeing to the A+ cyst. Give me some numbers here. How big is the gap?
So nationally, vacancy is still pretty high, around 20.5% in early 2026. That sounds bad. But if you look at those Class A+ trophy buildings in top markets, they're seeing 80% plus utilization on those peak days we mentioned.
Wow, so the good stuff is basically full and the bad stuff is really empty.
Exactly. The older, undifferentiated stock is facing accelerated obsolescence. It's becoming what the industry calls zombie buildings.
Zombie buildings. That sounds ominous.
It is. The thinking is, if a building doesn't offer a better experience than your home office, it's dead. It has no purpose.
So what happens to them? Do they all get converted into apartments?
Everyone asks that. And the answer is sometimes. But it's incredibly expensive to convert an office floor plate into residential. The plumbing is a nightmare.
I can imagine.
Many of these zombies are just going to sit there or eventually be demolished.
That's a stark reality. But let's flip to the tenant side. Who is filling up these trophy buildings? Is it just the usual suspects, banks and law firms?
Surprisingly, the savior of the office market, especially in places like San Francisco, is AI itself.
The AI companies are the ones leasing the space. I would have thought they'd be the first to be fully remote. They build the tools that let us be remote.
You'd think so, but no. They are the new anchor tenants. Look at San Francisco. Its recovery is being heavily driven by AI firms. Companies like Databricks, OpenAI, Anthropic. They have been signing massive leases.
I guess that makes sense. If you're building the most advanced tech in history, the Manhattan Project of our time, you probably need your engineers in the same room.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Speed is everything to them. Since 2020, AI companies in San Francisco alone received something like $103 billion in VC funding.
Wow.
That money has to go somewhere, and a lot of it is going into physical expansion. They're betting on in-person collaboration to win the AI race.
Okay, I want to pivot slightly here.
Yeah.
We're talking about offices and AI companies, but there's a hidden layer to this deep dive that really surprised me. The infrastructure. Because AI doesn't just run on magic, it runs on power. A lot of it.
This is the hidden infrastructure aspect. We really can't talk about the 2026 office without talking about the compute required to run it. Data centers are effectively the hottest asset class in real estate right now.
I saw a stat in the CBRE report that investment is projected to reach $1 trillion in North America between 2025 and 2030. That is an insane amount of money.
It is. But here's the bottleneck. A few years ago, the question for developers was, can we find a tenant? Now, the underwriting question is, can we power it?
Can we power it? That's a huge shift.
Power demand for data centers is projected to be up 175% by 2030. These AI chips run incredibly hot. They need massive cooling. The grid is struggling to keep up.
So where do they go?
It's actually pushing development into new regions, West Texas, the Midwest, places where they can just plug into the grid more easily.
And I noticed a mention of nuclear power in the research. That felt like a throwback.
It's a massive comeback. This power crunch is actually sparking a revival in nuclear interest. Tech giants are realizing that wind and solar are great, but they're intermittent.
Right.
To run these massive AI models 2047 without destroying their carbon footprint, they need reliable baseload clean energy.
So in a weird way, asking your AI to write a poem is helping bring nuclear power back online.
It's all connected. The AI assisting you in your fancy work-spitality office needs a massive data center in Ohio, which might need a nuclear plant to run.
Incredible. It really shows the scale of this shift. Okay, let's bring it back to the building itself. We talked about the design, we talked about the power, but what about the brain of the building? We're calling this the autonomous building.
This is where AI becomes the landlord, in a sense. The building systems are no longer passive. We have predictive maintenance now.
Explain that. How does a building predict a problem?
Well, instead of waiting for the air conditioning to break and making everyone miserable, the building's AI analyzes vibration patterns in the HVAC motors. It can detect a microscopic anomaly 2 weeks before failure and schedule the repair automatically.
So the repair person shows up before you even know it's broken.
Exactly. It reduces downtime by something like 15%, and it goes beyond maintenance. It's about energy optimization, too. The building knows exactly where people are sitting.
Through sensors.
Sensors, badge swipes, Wi-Fi connections. If the third floor is empty on a Friday, the building automatically dims the lights and adjusts the cooling. It helps companies hit those ESG goals purely through software.
But, and there's always a but. Having a building that knows everything about its occupants sounds like a security nightmare.
It creates a new anxiety, for sure.
Yeah.
They call it the attack surface. A smart building has thousands of sensors and internet-connected devices.
So we aren't just talking about someone stealing data from a server.
No, we are talking about operational technology, OT. If your building is a computer, it can be hacked like a computer. Hackers could potentially freeze the elevators, shut down the cooling to the server room, or manipulate the access controls.
That is a very sobering thought. You're not just securing a laptop, you're securing the door lock and the thermostat.
It is. But the industry argues it's the price of admission for this level of efficiency. You can't have the smarts without the connectivity.
So let's try to synthesize all of this. We've gone from zombie buildings to nuclear-powered data centers to hologram meetings. If we look at the HQ of 2026, what's the main takeaway for our listeners?
I think the headline is this. The HQ of 2026 is smaller in footprint, but significantly higher in impact. It has transformed from a mandatory container for employees into a strategic destination.
A strategic destination.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's a tool for culture and for speed. It's not about taking attendance, it's about making outcomes.
And for the listener, the person actually swiping their badge to get in next week, what does this all mean for their Monday morning?
It means the days of commuting, just to sit on a Zoom call, are effectively ending. The social contract has changed. If you are going in, you are going in to collaborate, to mentor, to solve hard problems together.
And if you need to focus.
You stay home. The friction of the commute has to be earned by the experience of the office.
That's a refreshing perspective. It puts the burden on the company to make the office worth the trip.
Absolutely. If the office isn't better than your home, you shouldn't be there.
Now, before we sign off, I want to leave everyone with a final provocative thought that came up while we were reviewing the notes on agentic AI within these smart buildings. And this one might keep you up at night.
Oh, this is a good one to chew on.
So we've established that the building knows where you are. It knows who you're meeting with in those phygital rooms. It knows how much time you spend in the focus zones versus the social zones.
It has a complete time-stamped data map of your entire day.
Right. So at what point does the building start managing your performance review? At what point does the AI say, hey, you spent 40% of your time in the cafeteria and only 10% in deep work, and flag that to HR?
It's the ultimate question of the autonomous workplace, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just because we can measure everything, should we? We're moving from managing work to potentially managing behavior.
Something to think about the next time you badge in. That's it for this deep dive into the office of 2026. We'll catch you next time.
See you then.